Yeah, what's up, kings and queens? We're back again. And as usual, we're going to the Mayweather case to see what sense can we make out of it. But today, we're going to rebut somebody's views, right? There's this news reporter from EWN, I think it's Eyewitness News. And then she is called I think it's Miss or Mrs. Modise. So now, I want to, you know, contradict her views, right? But you know why I'm doing this? I've always wondered what it is that makes the 30%ers have this view that the police, the state, Baloi, you know, they have a tight case. I've always wondered where they get it, like what is it that convinces them. So now, through this lady, because I could tell that through some of her videos on TikTok, she always held this view. Now, if you're wondering what is a 30%er, a 30%er is a term that was coined by our brother Clantis Tumakute. Clantis, the clan leader. He coined this term because it's based on the percentages of the people who favor the defense versus the people who favor the state. We know that it's in their numbers, right? The people who favor the defense. Now, in fact, it's not like favor as such. It's a matter of what kind of evidence is being presented by the state, right, for us to hold this kind of belief. Now, she has about 10 points that she brought across the table. I'm going to try to rebut all of them just to show you there's really not much that convinces them. It doesn't take much to convince a 30%er that the state is working. It doesn't take much. And if anything that the state is swinging towards being perceived as the right information, even though there's some rebuttals, there's some known rebuttals, well-known rebuttals, they still have this belief that no, the state has the right people, has the, like just like Kherida said. Now, before we do all of that, please like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so that when we drop more content like this, you are in the loop. Now I'm going to share with you her views, right? As she each point that she drops, I'm gonna come up with a rebuttal, then try to also make some notes here so that I don't be freestyling on you, right? I don't want to be freestyling. I just want to go through all these notes in a proper manner, right? So that we can check if the 10 points stand. They stand the test of scrutiny, right? Let's check it out.
Senzo Muriwa trial has finally rested its case, and now the ball is in the court of the defense to make its case. But it's been a long 2 years, and so I've put together 10 main points from the state's case. Number one, we've heard several testimonies from witnesses in the Pretoria High Court, but 3 of the main witnesses to take the stand are those who were in the house on the day that Senzo Muriwa was killed: Zandi Khumalo, Mthokozise Twala, and Tumelo Madlala. All 3 of those witnesses confirmed that there were intruders that entered the house on the day that Muriwa was killed. They've also confirmed that they heard gunshots. Now, their versions on this vary, with some saying they heard 1 gunshot and another saying they heard 3. Number 2.
Right. Before she goes to number 2, now let's talk about these people in the house, the 3 people confirming the intruders, right? We all know that these 3 people, all of them, in fact, all of the people in the house couldn't help construct the identity of accused, in fact, suspect number 2. The one that was constructed by Makelane, right? Just that. And then we know that these people that she trusts, all of these people, none of them called the police because none of their phone records show that there was a call to the police station to request help or to request an ambulance. We know that, right? Now, the fact that she believes that these people, all of these people saw the intruders, they confirmed that they were intruders. it's not really supported by much, right? Just that she's telling us that they confirmed that they were intruders. But based on the contradictions that these people have come across, even the one that she just mentioned now about the gunshots, the number of gunshots, we can't really place much weight on the evidence of these people. Right. Let's go to number 2 and hear what she has to say on number 2.
The gun. This is the weapon that police say was found in the possession of accused number 3, Mtobisi Mncube, when he was being investigated for another crime. According to police, once they had suspicion of Mncube's link to the murder of Senzo Meyiwa, they went to find the gun, which was ready for disposal, in order to compare it to the bullet that was found on the scene of Meyiwa's murder. And according to ballistic experts, they have positively linked the firearm that was found with Mncube and the bullet that was found on the scene of Meyiwa's murder.
Stop right there, sister. Now she's talking about the gun, right? The gun. We know the problem with the gun. We all of us know the problem with the gun. First of all, this 9mm is presented by the investigating officer, and I don't know who, right, who came up with the gun. But the people in the house, all of them mentioned a gun with a wheel. We know, so there's a problem there, first of all, because she doesn't even mention that there was a problem there, that some people in the house mentioned a gun with a wheel, and the police and the state are mentioning a 9mm, right? Now, when she talks about bullets being tested and confirmed to be from the gun that was from accused number 3, I just watched a show now from Sis Patricia Mashali and Jeps in Gaza Nation. Shout out to my brother, shout out to the mastermind, shout out to Sis Pat. They just laid out the whole thing to us in terms of what was going on at the forensics, right? The fact that Mangena was able to deal with that gun alone without even bringing us the records of the system where he was checking the gun out, checking it in, and all that, and the fact that he was able to sit with it for months without following procedure in his safe. I mean, it just renders the whole gun evidence questionable, to say the least. And we still have to hear from the expert from the defense side, right? How she's going to rebut that evidence. So I don't know how a 30% will feel like this is evidence, this is strong evidence. It's not, because even I mentioned it on my last video, the bullet that was brought in by Mhlahla, who presented brown oval envelopes inside the evidence bag, right? When an evidence bag is just supposed to wrap evidence, no other wrapper inside there. But she was able to even try to convince the court that these brown envelopes are accepted. They come from somewhere in their offices there. Now, it is amazing that she tried to pull a one over Arata and all of those defense lawyers, because I'm damn sure that they have come across evidence being presented in evidence bags. They know that no evidence bag is supposed to have a brown envelope inside. So, considering that this lady didn't consider all these facts, this point is crushed. Right. Let's go to the next point that she mentioned, and then we'll go along with all of them.
Number 3, cell phone evidence. The state has led evidence that shows that Mtobisi Mncube, the alleged gunman, was in the Vosloorus area on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was killed. However, the cell phone data before court shows that he may have been in Vosloorus earlier in the afternoon and not in the evening when Meyiwa was shot. The version, according to the defense, is that while Mncube was in Vosloorus on the day, around the time when Meyiwa was killed, he was in the George Koch area, which is closer to the Johannesburg CBD. Number 4, the confession statements. Before the court currently are 2 confession statements, one from...
Right, let's stop her right there. She's talking about the cell phone evidence. We know, we all know. It's not a secret anymore. We know that this cell phone evidence was was fabricated, to say the least. All those links to the accused were fabricated. Just the link to mention the link between Kaylee and that was fabricated. We know that. Now, the alibi, she is mentioning it herself. The alibi is tight because at that moment when the event was happening, where were they? She's mentioning it herself around George Koch in the CBD. Now, what makes her believe that this guy could somehow have magical powers, be able to be at two places at the same time? What could make her believe that this guy could magically somehow be at the same time as the event happening, like with Senzo, while his cell phone data is saying he's somewhere else? Now, probably this is an argument that they're going to put across, that Judge Rata was putting across, that it's just a phone there. The person could be somewhere else, right? Let's go to the next point that she mentioned, and then we'll take it from there one by one. Then you tell me in the comment sections what you think about these 10 points that 30% has brought.
Muzisbia and another from Bongani in Danzi. The court has admitted those statements provisionally. That means, as things stand, those statements form part of the court record. In Danzi's statement, he places himself on the scene of the crime, confessing that he was indeed one of the intruders that entered the home of Kelly Kumalo. Number 5.
Wait. Now she's talking about confessions. Confessions. We know that these confessions have problems, right? In Danzi's confession, it was taken, we could say, under duress, because the attorney who was representing him there, his FFC number has problems. And this guy, his relationship with Ntanzi could be considered what is called conflict of interest, because he has a record there on his CV that shows he was working for the police, crime intelligence, and then at the same time around, when he was claimed to have been representing Ntanzi, and he was also working for the city of Johannesburg. So how could somebody like that be able to represent a lawyer, in fact a client, without having a proper FFC number, and also working for the mother company that he's helping this accused to interrogate, right? The police are interrogating this guy and he has to represent them, but he's working for the police. So you see the conflict of interest there. And again, if we look at the confessions, these confessions, none of the accused are really mentioned right directly so by their names. We know that these names that are mentioned there, some of them were people who have passed away, some of them are people who are in jails now. So I don't know what basis she's placing her argument on when she says these statements implicate Ntanzi. Ntanzi mentioned himself at the crime scene, right? It doesn't make sense. The fact that Ntanzi, even the money, when you talk about the money that is mentioned in there, it doesn't make sense, because Ntanzi is mentioned to be, is claimed to be in that statement, is claimed to be a gun dealer, but yet he came without the gun there. He's handed the gun, and and it's unbelievable that wife Nkabis could bring somebody, a novice who has never done this job, for Nkabis, and bring Ntanzi to accompany them to do that job when they don't know him, they don't know how well can he operate this kind of field. Doesn't make sense. It shows that not much thinking was put behind this point. Let's continue.
The state's star witness, Constable Sizwe Zongu. According to Zongu, who had a lengthy testimony on the witness stand, he told the court that all 5 men were in the Vosloorus area, specifically at the Basotho hostel, on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was killed. But also, he says he saw the men leave the hostel and then hours later rush back into the hostel, and he assumes that's when the men came from murdering Senzo Meiwa. Number 6.
Wow. Wow. Unbelievable that he has the gall to mention Zongu, right? Now, we know that Zungu's father came out about a week ago to diffuse and refute Zungu's statements, Zungu's claims, Zungu's malicious claims, Zungu's preposterous claims. Zungu claims that he mingled with crooks, yet he's a cop. His own father questioned that logic, that he asked him, how are you as a cop able to be invited by crooks to, to their parties and stuff, to hang out with them, and you are even able to hand over your service gun to them? You are, how is that possible? His own father couldn't believe that story, and his own father told us the truth behind all of this, that none of that is true. This boy came with his story to him before the cooking happened, and he denied him that chance to work with him because he's a sincere man, he's an honest man. Now this boy decided to continue. We understand now why Absalom Zungu Senior, like the father, was not brought to testify. Like there's an understanding why, because he was not towing the line, right? Now the fact that this lady is mentioning Zungu, the fact that she's ignoring the Daily Sun interview with Absalom Zungu, and she's a news reporter. She's supposed to be a news reporter. She's supposed to be knowing about any kind of news that's breaking. She's ignoring all of this. Even the big newspapers, the big media like SABC1, SABC, ENCA, Newsroom, none of them reported on this Absalom Zungu's fathers, Absalom Zungu's story. None of them. None of them felt that it was worth their time to mention. It's fine. Let's see how. Now, what are they going to say? We're going to go back to them. We're still going to call them out in the future for that. Let's see what they say now when he testify. Understand? Let's see. Will they mention? Oh, sometime there back then he appeared on Daily Sun. Will they mention that? We'll see that. Now, let's continue with this lady's points so we can rebut them and get it over with.
E-Natus records. According to Modise, he hadn't been in the Johannesburg area since early 2014. However, the state has brought records showing that Sibia had applied for a learner's license at the Boksburg Center in 2014. There are also further records showing that he'd made transactions in Carlton Center in the same year, and also bank records that show that Modise had applied for a replacement of his bank card in 2014 in Johannesburg. Number 7.
Wait, now, on this one, she's mentioning the INATIS records, like the traffic department records. It's either here nor there, right? Yeah, he was in Gauteng around that time, but can you place him at the scene of the crime when the DNA wasn't able to do so? Can you do that? Right. Now, this is this point. You could combine it with the other point that she's going to mention, the alibi, where she's mentioning that Ntanzi. So I'm not going to even entertain that one because I'm gonna deal with it here. The alibi. It's like the alibi. The alibi was wrong. This is what the state has been hanging on, right? Not real evidence. They are hanging on what the defense said, what the accused said. If he was asked, where were you? Then he was, let's say he says, I was in Rustenburg. And then we found out that he was in Cape Town or he was in Joburg. Does that really say this guy committed that crime? Or or could there be some other, inferences that could be drawn from that? The fact that we could draw an inference of saying, okay, he forgot. The fact that we could say the inference that and say no, he wanted to lie to you. We could say that he lied to you. Hence he was lying his whereabouts. he was lying about his whereabouts. So like there's so many things that we can draw for it. Lying is one of them. This is what she's drawing, that they were lying. The state is drawing the same inference, they were lying. So that means they are guilty. It doesn't mean that. It just means they were lying. We don't know the reason for that. But do you have enough proof to say, yeah, they were there at the crime scene? No. So this alibi is dead. This alibi thing is dead. I mean, the state should be relying on evidence that really tangible, like DNA. That's really proof. That's not the DNA. That's not excluding this guy. That's conclusive, right? Let's go on with the other points, and then we're gonna wrap this up.
Witness testimony. Now, we've heard testimonies from a number of witnesses that the state has led. But one of those is Ntabiseng Mokete, a witness who happened to be outside the home of Kelly Khumalo on the night that Senzo Meyiwa was murdered. She says she saw the men running out of Kelly Khumalo's home towards the park on that evening. One of those men had dreadlocks. Now that's important because according to other eyewitnesses, including the people who were in the house, one of the intruders, the gunman, had dreadlocks during that time.
Now, let's talk about this dreadlock that she says is very important. It cannot be any important because these dreadlocks, if you look at the identikits, when they were first published, all of them claim that the intruders had dreadlocks. So the state is confused here. All of them claim that the intruders had gold tooth. So the state is, and the eyewitnesses from the house, they are confused here because now the state has gone to check in Tanzi, they have gone to check accused number 3 Ngube. None of them had gold tooth, right? None of them. So the dreadlocks, she's talking about Ntabiseng, the lady who was like fumbling on the stage. She was grasping for answers, trying to give us the right answers. She couldn't explain how she was able to see all those things, and she couldn't even tell us if she saw the car of the accused that the claim suspect came up with, and then how was she able to see the dreadlocks in a hoodie when somebody's running away? How was she able to see that? Right. It's fine. Let's just continue with the last part, and then I'm gonna close this out, and then you tell me what you think in the comments.
Number 8, alibis. One of the accused, Bongani Ndanzi, had initially claimed that he was at work on the weekend that Senzo Meyiwa was killed. At the time, he worked as a miner on the West Rand for Sibanye Stillwater. Now, the state called a witness, one of the HR personnel from Sibanye, who confirmed for the court that Ndanzi was not at work during that weekend. That begs the question of where Bongani Ndanzi was on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was killed. Number 9, an affidavit from Tabang Makeleni, a witness that since died before taking the witness stand. He's one of the first people to describe one of the intruders as having had an O-shaped beard. Now, we've heard this too from some of the people who were in the house. The state has now led evidence showing old pictures of Bongani Ndanzi with an O-shaped beard. And number 10, the...
Wait, before you go to 10. What? Makaleni is the one who was able to draw the O shape. This Makaleni, where was Makaleni standing? And then if Makaleni was standing somewhere there, how was Mamukete not able to see her? Because Mamukete claimed she was outside by the car, sitting inside the car with her friend. So that's when they had the commotion and all that, and people went passing by. So where was Makaleni standing? And then this Makaleni, how was he able to see people running away from him? Looking at the back, how was he able to see an O-shaped beard? How? So you're just gonna believe Makaleni. Makaleni, who has not come to this court and testify and tell us to back up his evidence. That's the evidence that you believe. It doesn't take much to convince a 30%. Like I've realized that. By just going through this, it doesn't take much. Just an allegation is enough for them. without enough backup evidence. That's enough for them.
Controversial DNA evidence. While the DNA evidence does not definitively place the accused at the home of Kelly Kumalo on the day that Senzo Meyo was killed, the state will argue that depending on interpretation, it can be seen that the accused may have been present on that night. All eyes are now on the defense to see which witnesses they will lead in order to answer to the evidence that's been led by the state. But before that, the Section 174 discharge application is being lodged by the defense. This is an application that the defense brings if they believe there isn't sufficient evidence against the accused and no reasonable person would find them guilty of these crimes. The court will have to hear the application, and if the court finds in the accused's favor, then it would be the end.
Let's stop this right here and now. Now, let's discuss all of this. What could be the reason for her to take only these points? Like, just ask yourself that. Why all these points? Only these points. Are you telling me that she's not aware that Zongu's father came out? Are you telling me that she's not aware that there was confusion with the 38? Are you telling me that even the DNA that she's talking about, the stage will allege that there's a possibility? Are you telling me that she did not hear what the DNA expert said? Just based on that, like it's just a questionable piece of editorial, an editorial piece that's questionable, right? What kind of thinking was put behind that? Anyway, guys, I just wanted to put forth her views against my views. Then you tell me who's making more sense to you. Anyway, guys, I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'll be out. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that when we drop more content like this, you are in the loop. Just tell me what you think about these 10 points, these 10 weak points, where I think one or two of them are repeating themselves. Anyway, guys, we out. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that when we drop more content like this, you are in the loop. Peace.